Well, I think it's good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are. And again, I'm Scott. I'm the marketing guy here at BPM. And I'd like to welcome you to our BPM310 Demo virtual webinar. And today we'll be showcasing our best-in-class machine, the BPM310, which offers unique benefits compared to other small footprint machines. You'll see our 10th generation universal programming technology in action, supporting components like MCUs, eMMCs, and even UFS with just one programming site, as opposed to several that some of our competitors are still running out there. Discover how the BPM310 doubles socket capacity, lowers capital expenditure, and provides amazing cost per device. We'll cover its fault-tolerant design, independent sites, and user-friendly software. In addition, we'll discuss features such as Whisper Teach, cyber optics, workflow options, and socket changeover from FV4s to a Gang 8. I think you're going to like that. We hope you enjoy this virtual demonstration as we explore the remarkable capabilities and versatility of the BPM310, which could revolutionize your programming experience. With that, I'd like to hand this off to Penny Santanum, BPM Senior Director for Customer Success. Penny, take it away, please.
Well, thank you, Scott. Well, first, I would like to say thank you again for joining us this afternoon and pretty late evening, as I see some of our guests that have joined us. I did first want to start off with some introductions on the team that is joining today. Of course, we have Pierce Weiss, who is our Executive Account Manager here at BPM. Colin Harper on the machine. He is our Director of APS Sales and Product Management. We also have Charlie Walton on the machine. He is our Senior Field Service Engineer. Robert Trenery, he is the Customer Care Manager. And we also have Enrique Prieto, who is our National Account Manager for Mexico. So some really great news here at BPM. We have gone direct in Mexico. So we've already hired our first few people, and I'm going to let Enrique go ahead and talk about that.
Hello, guys. As Penny said, my name is Enrique Prieto. I'm actually in charge of the accounts in Mexico. I'm the National Account Manager for Mexico. And we are really excited to start working with you directly as BPM in Mexico. As you can see, we have several guys that will help us with the technical side of the things. As Alejandro Puebla, who is located in Reynosa, also Adrian Corpus, who is in the call. He is located at Guadalajara. And of course, Jose Romo. Jose Romo is located at Houston, but he has been working with Mexican customers for a while now. So we're really excited to contribute to your business, guys. All right, Penny.
Thank you. One last thing to mention. If during the seminar today, if you have any questions, terrific. We do have a chat box that's at the bottom of the screen. Go ahead and list your questions that you may have, and Scott will go ahead and answer those, or we'll read those off for us to get your answers at the end of this demo.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. So on display here is our 2900L manual programmer. Primarily, our customers have two uses from the programmer. As you can see, it is capable of holding 4 sockets on the interface board here. It is a gang programmer, so you can program 4 devices simultaneously in gang mode. But as I mentioned, the two primarily methods that our customers see value in our programmer is, first, if you would purchase an automated machine, it is a great tool for first articles. It uses the same sockets that you would also use on the automated system, uses the same software as well. So you can easily transfer jobs over from the 2900 over to our automated systems. The second way that customers use our programmers is for production purposes as well. Typically low volumes, anywhere from 1 device to approximately 100,000 devices per year is what we typically estimate. The cool thing about the programmer too is you can actually daisy chain them together and connect up to 11 programmers on one PC or operating system. So as your capacity grows, you can continue to add manual programmers. But like I mentioned, typically after about 100,000 devices, we like to start talking about automation so we can really scale that for your needs and reduce some manpower on your end. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this opportunity to go ahead and pass it on over to Charlie and Colin to introduce the BPM310. Take it away, guys.
Thank you, Pierce. Good to see everyone today, at least virtually, and it's a pleasure to have you join us. Thanks for taking the time from your busy schedules. And again, I know some of you are joining late. And Charlie, pleasure to be here with you today.
Thank you, Colin. You too.
Yeah, you know, we're talking about our 10th generation programmer, and you've been around, what, 20 some odd years now? How long have you been with BPM?
26 years now.
Okay, so certainly Charlie is our subject matter expert when it comes to the automation. Charlie, you've installed machines like this all around the world, I assume. Hundreds
Indeed.
of machines.
Hundreds of machines.
Okay, so yeah, our BPM 310, obviously, it's built for robust operation. It incorporates our 10th generation programming technology and many of the features that we've continued to add to the 3000 series platform over the years. The machine is designed and manufactured here in Houston, Texas. So you can be sure that from a parts availability and from the ability to respond to your requirements, you know, our team here is well equipped because we're the experts on these systems. So a little bit more about 10th generation. We released our first machine, or shipped our first machine, the BPM 310, a little bit more than a year ago. The unique features with the BPM 310 is, number one, it is universal like its predecessor, the 2900 or 9th generation, but we're also incorporating UFS support. And UFS support is second to none in the industry. Our write speeds are unbeatable at over 200 megabytes per second, and our read speeds are at 440 megabytes per second, so unbeatable in the industry. Again, universal technology. The good news is the FVE4 adapters that were previously developed for 9th generation are forward compatible. You know, universal technology is something we've always aimed for since 1985, and to date we have over 75,000 parts in our library. And again, 10th generation continues that support, capable of supporting UFS, eMMC, microcontrollers, serial flash, and the whole gambit of parts. The other thing that, again, continues our unique feature is the CyberOptics on-the-fly vision alignment camera. We are convinced that on-the-fly vision alignment is a fantastic way to not only get the full throughput out of your machine, but make device programming easy. And that's what it's all about. You couple that with our award-winning BPWin software. Someone who has operated, let's say, Charlie, pick us a 3710 that you installed 10 years ago, 15 years ago. If we dropped one of these machines on their factory floor next week, what would the learning curve look like?
Practically nothing, because the software is identical. Loading and running jobs is identical. Most of the options you're already familiar with. The sites look different, and maybe the socket cards look a little different, but you install them and the pressure plate's exactly the same.
So operating environment's the same.
Yes.
The advanced features, Robert will touch on some of those in a little bit, Robert Trinery, and all of that is forward compatible. So the customers don't have to relearn the system, which is often the case with our competitors. So today we're going to do a couple of demos. We're going to provide a tray-to-tray demo using our 8th generation, or excuse me, our 8 socket 10th generation sites. I think I skipped that part. One of the innovations was They double the socket density. You know, we, for many years, had a flagship in our 4000 series machine, and we shipped hundreds of those machines all over the world. Fantastic product. But frankly, the technology in that did have some limitations in that it was an older machine and the cost to develop and to ship those were substantial. So what we've done, a 48 socket machine that, you know, may have been twice the cost of the BPM310 now gives you all that same value in this platform, the smaller platform, so you can have up to 6 programming sites and 48 sockets. In fact, most of the programmers, even in the 4000 series that we've shipped over the years, have been less than the full complement of 10 or then later 12 sites. So again, you can do the math simply to see that the cost to purchase one of these machines is so much more competitive. So again, making device programming easy. I think, Charlie, let's start off with a simple maybe trade job. How would that be?
Okay, sure.
I'll tell you what. Instead of that, let's do what a changeover looks like.
Right.
What would that be with one of our 10th generation sites?
Okay, so here we are inside the BPM310. You'll see here there's a tray stacker. Over here is a tape loader. We have our wide beam here. There's 4 programming sites. These are all 10th gen. The sites here, number 1 and 2, they have our 8 gang socket cards. It's a single card with 8 sockets. Over here, we're just doing a demonstration showing that you can have your old 8th and 9th gen FEE4 cards also. You can run those on these sites. Of course, you can't run all this on one job, but we'll only be using these 2 sites for our demonstration purposes. Now, we'll say that the stepper motors for the 9th and the 8th gen sites, they had about 30 pounds of force to pull down 4 sockets. The 10th gen sites have much stronger, much larger, and more robust stepper motors that can easily pull down the 8 sockets. They pull about 100 pounds of force. So anyway, let's say we finished a job. We're going to start a new job. You simply remove the pressure plates. And we have this handy little ESD safe plastic tool that you can pop out your socket cards. And then you change over to a new job, whether it be the 8 gang or the FEE4s.
And here's another style, Charlie, that I borrowed.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so this is a gang 2. And so in an instance where the socket fits accordingly, we could deliver 4 gang 2 adapters that would fit on the 10th generation site as well. So there's some variability, kind of like we've seen over the years, available, you know, on the 9th generation and 8th generation.
Yes, excellent, Colin. Thank you.
And the other note is, you know, like our previous designs, the one you have in your hand is a mechanical compression socket. So we'll talk a little bit more about fault tolerance in a few minutes and discussing what that means to 10th generation since it shares a common PCB in some cases.
Very good. Okay, so we just install the socket card onto the programming site. Reinstall our pressure plates. Note that the pressure plates are quite a bit thicker than the old pressure plates. That's so that they do not flex. Okay. All right, while we're in here, I'd like to point out the machine has a downward looking camera, which is an aid in teaching. What it will do is when you're teaching, it will present the image on screen and superimpose a crosshair so that you can locate your device for teaching locations.
And Charlie, we have the ionizer as well.
Yes. Would you like to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, the ionizer, certainly in environments that we deal with, ESD safety is very important. And so the integrated dual AC self-regulating ionizer is an option that most customers decide to go with. It's really an important feature, especially with the small chip scale package.
That's right. We've had issues in the past where the really small lightweight devices, the arms of the socket that hold the device down, when the arm comes up, the devices can stick a little bit. And so by directing flows of ionized air down into the sockets, it minimizes that effect. Okay, and this is a nice addition if you're dealing with sensitive and very small devices. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and select a short little job to run tray stacker to tray stacker. Open my workflow here.
And while you're doing that, Charlie, again, the machine today, as you can see, is configured with our tray stacker TS1500. It's something we designed and we manufacture here in our Houston facility. And we also have a tape output unit. It's a VTech unit made in the USA. We've aligned with these guys for well over 20 years, and it's been a very robust platform.
Yes, it has.
Capable of supporting tape widths of 8mm up to 56mm.
Okay, so you see we presented the first tray now, and system's going to do a continuity test to make sure there's no devices when we start the job. So the way we actually operate is we will place one device into the socket, make sure it successfully programs before we start in concurrent mode running full speed. And the reason is that we want to make sure that the job selected is correct for the device. That way you end up with a lot of rejected devices at the beginning of the job.
Yeah. So we mentioned fault tolerant architecture earlier, and please add your comments.
Sure.
But from my standpoint, it means our sites operate independently. So
they do.
And then the sockets themselves
Indeed, they do. Yeah.
Operated independently. So
sure.
You mentioned that you have compression sockets on the example board that you're running. And so if what happens, Charlie, in a case where they're running the job and the operator notices the yield is low on one of the sockets, what would be some of the actions?
Sure. So yeah, what they can do is in BPWin, just click on the socket, right click, and disable the socket for the remainder of the job. Okay. And they can also do that for the whole site.
And if they wanted to set a threshold for the number of rejects
That's
per
right.
socket?
There's an option inside BPWin that can set a maximum number of failures on any socket, and it will stop using that socket for the remainder of the job when that limit is reached.
And we also have an odometer on each of the sockets too, right? So you
With
can,
socket module counter. That's
yeah,
right.
so that allows customers to become familiar with the replacement rates.
That's right.
And then they preset that and do either a cleaning routine, first
Yes.
of all, and then
Socket maintenance routine, interval is what we call that.
Okay,
Yes.
very good.
Okay, so that finishes that job. Sockets have closed. Make sure that there's no devices left in the socket. And that tray goes to the output. Head goes home, and we will get a job summary report.
Right. And so the job summary report, say a little bit more about that. What's included
Okay,
in the job summary
it's
report?
everything about the job. The BP file name, ABP file name, the handler serial number, the site serial numbers, the time the job started, the date the time job ended, the duration of the job, how many successful, how many failed devices, and it gives you a breakdown of failures by type. And even there's sections on the very bottom of the form that tells you how to mitigate the failures to improve your DPH and yield. So
let's say the customer's data file gets larger and now they're not operating at full throughput. In this case, with the BPM310, let's say 2 programming sites, would it tell them, hey, add a programming site or add additional sites or sockets? Absolutely, yes. Okay, so there's a helpful hint to maximize the production of the machine. Correct. A little bit about that, I skipped through earlier. This is our second go through today. We'll have another repeat performance this evening, but this programmer, again, compared to say the 4000 series machine, we have a max throughput of over 1,400 devices per hour. And it's safe to say that in a 3 production shift per day routine, you could program up to 4 million devices per year. And I'm working with one of the other managers, and we're for a project now, we've quoted a system like this. And with 2 programming sites and 8 sockets on each site, they're able to produce over 4 million devices per year. So incredible return on investment, incredible lower cost per device compared to just a few years ago. So something to certainly keep in mind. Charlie, so I know we mentioned cyber optics a little bit earlier. In addition to on-the-fly alignments, you can also do an auto measure, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So if you want to do a package teach, say, the whole idea is to take the operator dependency out of that.
Right. We try to make the whole system as user-friendly as possible. And the cyber optic system, this is the latest camera sensor created by cyber optic. And the purpose of it is to, whenever you pick up a device, you're going to measure it with the camera so that you can determine the exact center of that device in relation to the center of the nozzle, so that when you go place, you can apply a correction for an accurate placement. And we do this every time we pick up the device. So you pick up the device from your input, you align it, you place it in the socket. You program it, afterwards you align it, maybe you go to the laser. You laser mark your device, you align it, and then you go to the output. So every time it's picked, it's aligned.
Yeah, so a distinction from BPM versus some of our competitors, at least one of our competitors does use a on-the-fly vision camera, but it's only in their flagship machine. Whereas, BPM, we feel it's so important and so utilitarian that we do it even on the 3901 and the 3928 as well now as the BPM310.
Yes, all of our machines have had this vision centering.
Earlier, Scott had mentioned Whisper Teach, and we use that in addition to the cyber optics camera to
Correct.
teach a tray. So why don't we take the visitors through the process of teaching a tray?
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and manually present a tray to the machine. Then we'll just select teach from my menu here, and we'll teach the tray. For any tray, we're going to teach 3 corners of the tray. We'll start with the pickup corner, and then we'll go to an opposite corner, and then the end of a first row. And the reason we teach three corners of the tray is to accommodate if the tray is not perfectly square to the tabletop. Okay, so just simply telling how many rows, how many columns, make sure there's a device, pick pin 1, and we're going to go there. Now the downward camera is over the device, and I have crosshairs here on my screen.
Charlie, do you have to have the crosshair directly in the center of the device?
No, absolutely not. It just has to be close enough that the nozzle can pick the device up, and then the alignment camera, the cyber optic camera, does the rest. So I'll click Teach Pocket, and the nozzle, it starts the Whisper Teach at this point. Touch once, touch twice, and the 3 spins for the measurement, and we have successfully taught that. And then the second pocket, same basic idea. Nozzle comes down, Whisper Teach is in action.
I noticed there was no calibration of the nozzle to the camera or the downward vision camera to begin with. Talk about that, the advantage, say, relative to upward vision. Is there something you can say about that, or what it's baked? I guess it's baked into the when the machine initializes. Right?
Okay, you're talking about the camera to nozzle offset?
Yes.
Yes. Well, it's simply you need to know the X and Y distance between the downward camera and the center of the nozzle.
But we don't have to recalibrate our nozzle.
No, this is something that you just do occasionally, or if something changes.
Okay, if parts were replaced.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
so we were talking during that process of teaching the tray, and so you can see really there's very little operator dependency. As long as you can locate the target device with the crosshair generator, it's
Right.
just press a button and Whisper Teach does it itself. So let's dig in a little bit more about Whisper Teach, Charlie.
Okay.
I heard a great explanation earlier from you, so why don't you share it with our audience?
Okay, so what Whisper Teach is? Well, we have trademarked this, and we believe that it is the future. So as devices get smaller and smaller, it becomes harder for a handler to automatically learn the Z coordinate, the Z height. So the way it's been done for years and years and years is that you've got the nozzle up here, you turn on the vacuum, and the nozzle drives down until it detects the device. What actually happens is that the device will jump up onto the vacuum nozzle with the suction. Now, large, heavy devices, they don't jump very high, but you don't know what the jump is. But the smaller devices can jump quite a distance. In fact, on smaller devices, I've seen them jump out of the pocket, flip upside down, or even land on the side of the pocket. It's very, very difficult to do that with vacuum on. So some people will turn the vacuum off and just drive it down by eye and try and get accurate, but that's still not very great. Whisper Teach solves that problem. And the way Whisper Teach works is that instead of turning on vacuum, we're going to turn on a low pressure, low flow of air that's coming out of the nozzle, not enough to disturb even the smallest device. We're going to go down and we're counting motor steps. We'll come down and we'll touch the device, and we'll know that we've touched it because we have a vacuum transducer that will change its voltage due to changes in vacuum. So even a minute change in voltage will be detected, and then the nozzle will come up and repeat that process. And if the number of motor steps is about the same as when it detects the device a second time, then it says that must be the surface of the device. At that point, Whisper Teach is over, nozzle goes up, then picks the device and spins 3 times for the auto measure to accurately find the X and Y coordinate.
Impressive. So 15 micron accuracy with our Whisper
Yes,
Teach.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
So
And when Whisper Teach finishes, you know that the Z coordinate is absolutely accurate. It is where it touches the device.
and repeating, that's what was happening with the tray while you and I were just here conversing. There was no operator. In the past, what the operator would, because you've done this, right? Where your head is down, kind of
I've
in the
had to do
machine,
that, yes.
trying to observe what's happening.
Right.
And so, Scott, I'm going to hand it back to you for a minute, and you're going to show a video that gives customers a little bit more detail and perspective on what Whisper Teach is and how it works.
Yeah, so we did this a while back. What is Whisper Teach? Well, it's the solution to the critical Z height. It's kind of the holy grail of device programming, because getting into that pocket, especially with really, really small devices, is really difficult. So we've got a GoPro here that we've got a really close zoom in on. And let me slow that down, because the first thing was that's at normal speed. So this is at 4 times slow mode. So it takes about an 8-second clip and makes it about 30 seconds. So what you're seeing here is the nozzle coming down, creeping down on the device, and the device compared to a dime is really, really small. Whisper Teach recognizes it makes contact. It's now going to pick it, spin it, make a slight adjustment so that it's perfectly centered on the device, and that's the cyber doing its thing. And it does all that in less than 8 seconds. And again, without an operator needing to be in the middle of the machine trying to see down in that little hole.
Scott, I noticed in reviewing that video, we didn't have a perfect nozzle. You probably noticed back home there that there was a lot of run out, wobble, so to speak.
A little bit of wobble.
And our system didn't care. And that's the beauty of having the Whisper Teach coupled with the cyber optics. It is, again, fault tolerant to be able to handle that type of thing.
Absolutely. So let me share with you guys something we did a few years back. We were at a trade show and we were trying to think of what's something cool we could do that gives away prizes and lets people get involved in our machine. So we thought of this thing called the Whisper Teach Challenge. We had a little game controller and we had people come up to the machine and try to do it the old-fashioned way. Try to teach by looking down in the pocket and trying to figure out where that thing is. And we really warned people, hey, you don't want to crush the device. So most people, when they did this, they did it a little too high, and there's the zero height right there. So most people taught a little too high, which can cause misalignment errors. With our systems, not so bad. But when you teach too low, it can cause micro cracks, which can actually cause oxidation in the field, which is really, really bad, because you don't want bad things happen in the field after the green light has come on. So as the video continues, that was something fun. Just as a comparison, here's a human hair, which is about 60 microns thick. Human eye can see down to about 40 microns, which is not very good. And Whisper Teach is able to get down to that 15 microns, which is really, really important. And it's really important. Why, Colin?
Well, modern pick and place machines, even our competition, they have very repeatable machines. But if you teach the process incorrectly, you're going to continue to repeat that error over and over and over. And that's going to result in poor quality, perhaps sockets that wear out too soon, and worst case, as Scott had mentioned, maybe a latent failure in the field. And look, we're dealing with customers who expect Six Sigma quality. And that's why we really believe that this type of combination of the cyber optics on the fly, the accuracy and repeatability of the system as a whole at 15 microns, and the Whisper Teach feature is not even an option. So that's why it's incorporated in all three of our automated machines. So Charlie, why don't we do the next job, which is going to be a stationary tray, or excuse me, the tray stacker to the tape output unit.
Sure, let's
You want
do
to
that.
talk a little bit about the TM50 real quick before we say go?
Okay, so the TM50, of course, made by VTech, is completely universal. And this means that it can handle any width of carrier tape, easily adjustable, and can handle both heat and pressure seal cover tapes. It has 5 sensors that can detect any kind of an error situation and will pause the job and let the operator correct it so that you don't end up with damaged devices.
So speaking of jobs, I know BPWin is at the heart of what we do, or
Correct.
the soul, as I like to say,
Right.
really.
Mhm.
But we have this relationship with the VTech platform, and so we can store and save jobs and communicate between that. So,
Right. This is something we added a few years ago. But yes, the TM50 has its own capability of storing jobs. And so you can have that job number also saved in the ABP file for your BPWin job, so that when you load a particular job, it will send that command to the TM50 and automatically load that job setup. And that just takes one more fail element out of your job setup.
well said. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
So let's continue.
All right, I've got a small job here set up. All right, so we're going to go ahead and use this tray that's already here. And the sockets will open momentarily. And we'll repeat the process. The first device will go in.
So while the machine is initializing, so to speak, for the job, or loading the job, what's it doing from a quality standpoint? It's confirming the workflow that you taught, I suppose, is loaded on the machine.
That, as well as that the job selected is correct for the device that is being handled.
So a lot of quality checks. We want to get the green light, but we want to make sure that we're processing
That's
the
right.
right job to begin with.
That's right.
So it's loading all the sockets in site 1, and then it'll come back and put those onto the tape loader.
That's right.
Obviously, programming is the primary thing we do, but you know, a lot of customers buy this machine for media transfer as well. So, you know, if they have extra time, we have the ability to bypass programming, especially today in a world where components are difficult to come by.
Right.
Perhaps their standard is to place everything in a tape and reel prior to going to the S&T line, but the procurement team might have to go and procure parts like this in a JDEC tray.
That's right.
So it's a very good way to kit parts, and it's you know, a good way to continue to add value to the process. Instead of hiring that out to someone else, you buy the material any way you can get it and kit it to the size and into the media that you need to use.
Correct.
So how many devices are we running here, Charlie?
Oh, we're towards the end of the job right now. So again, a job changeover is your sockets, your pressure plates, the pick and place nozzle, and if you have a laser marker, then it would be a pair of nozzles. And the nozzles are all different sizes for all your different components. And we recommend that you use the largest nozzle that fits the device without overlapping the device.
And so we also have an integrated laser marker we did not demo today. It's a fiber laser.
Correct.
So talk a little bit about that and the accessories that go with the fiber laser.
Sure. So for decades, we used a carbon dioxide laser. It had a little bit of a limitation that the spot size was quite a bit large and that you couldn't make a really fine, crisp line. The fiber laser has a much smaller spot size, which means you can have a very fine, crisp line, so you can go much smaller in your laser mark. In addition, that fine line will allow us to do QR codes that can actually be read by optical inspection machines. You have the ability, of course, by using project files that you can laser mark logos, graphics, different fonts, different character spacing, but the normal use is just alphanumeric characters, you know, for things like checksums or revisions. I will say that the fiber laser, the difference to the operator is negligible. The interface is exactly the same. There are a few differences from the technician's point of view, but from the operator point of view, the laser's identical to run and set up.
Very good.
All right, this job is now completed.
Well, in a bit, we're going to talk a little bit about installation and maintenance, but for now, I'm going to send it back to Penny and let her talk about service and support.
All right, thanks, Colin. So a little bit about our service and support. BPM has decided about a year and a half to kind of move things more into a customer success platform. So what does that mean to our direct customers? That means that we were really paying attention to what your needs are and how to best support you. So some of the things that we do cover on our support, when you purchase a new machine or you have an extended warranty, you will have a 24/7 hotline. So say, for instance, you're running different shifts, we're going to be able to accommodate you. You'll speak with a live person. They're going to help triage and hopefully troubleshoot and solve your problem. In addition to that, there are spare parts. When you have that installation on your machine, you will have a spare parts kit that is provided. In addition to that, our seasoned professional technicians also can recommend critical spare parts that you can keep on hand. We also have priority case handling. When you have an agreement here with BPM, we are going to put you at the top of the list so that we are going to be able to triage, troubleshoot, and get a solution. We have our on-site support, which would mean, you know, and we don't like to see this happen, but sometimes these machines go down. So what do? That first 24 hours we're going to spend with our technician trying to troubleshoot, make sure that we can provide you with the information to get you back up and running. But if that doesn't work, we are going to be there and have our technicians get this machine up and running for you. We also provide annual preventative maintenance. BPM has decided over this last year that we want to get on top of the problems. And by doing that, that is going to reduce any time down for you. So we have 2 preventative maintenance that we provide to all of our customers. We go out, we do a health check on your machine, we go ahead and switch out parts. When we have new technicians that have joined, we can give training. So there's a lot of value that we're providing to you with those visits. So now we can touch on our software support that comes with all of our machines. What you're going to be able to get with this is a library of an extensive amount of algorithms that we've already developed. In addition to that, this also is going to support any new development that you are bringing onto this machine. And even with that 24-hour hotline, we do sometimes get these technical issues that are really on the software side. You can report that, we can triage, we can troubleshoot. So you can use that phone number also in that area. Last but not least, we have our device support algorithm credits. So when you do choose to have that software support, we provide these algorithm credits, and it pretty much will pay for itself because every credit is $500. So that's really going to help reduce that cost of your development. So that's what I have on our service and support. I'm going to let Charlie dig in a little bit more on the installation and training and some of the maintenance things that he can offer you. It's all yours, Charlie.
Thank you, Penny. Okay, so for the average installation, it's approximately 3 days. The first day will be uncrating the machine and get it positioned into its final resting spot. We will assemble the machine and put it together, attach all the peripherals. We'll power it up and then put it through a battery of tests, making sure that it's fully functional. We'll test everything, the sights, all the peripherals, the handler, X and Y axis, Z and theta, fiber optic camera, whisper teach, go through everything. And then at that point, we're ready to start teaching a job. And this is actually where the operator training will begin. We'll go through setting up a job from scratch, teaching the device package, teaching all the inputs, the outputs, and the sockets. We'll go over how to create .bp files and .abp files. And then we'll run some jobs. And while these devices are being tested, we'll set up and run and teach and run more jobs. And throughout the second day, will be more teaching. And the third day, we'll go over some PM training and technical training for your maintenance technicians. For the maintenance, of course, we provide a schedule that gives recommended periodic maintenance weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually. We'll also go through the spare parts kit and go through each one of those parts, what they do, how to install them, things like that. So that by the end of the day, hopefully everything is running smooth and we can get a final acceptance and sign off on the machine.
Charlie, a question about the BP file you mentioned earlier. You know, we're working with a lot of customers these days who are transitioning from other programming solutions, maybe ISP or outsourcing, and bringing this capability in-house. So I know that the customer service team is working to create first articles. Robert Mike mentioned that earlier, but just to kind of touch on it is we'll do the first articles before the machine arrives. So in a best case scenario, by day 3.
Yes, you're running full production.
Full
sure.
production.
It's entirely acceptable and even encouraged if customers can send in sample devices, and we can qualify everything here and even pre-set up some jobs. It's been done before.
And occasionally we'll have customers come to our factory for a factory acceptance test.
Correct.
Prior to machine shipping, and they can see firsthand and set up jobs, you know, even ahead of time.
Exactly.
As well. You probably want to reteach those as you remove the peripherals and put those back on. And then, you know, just repeat that process at the site acceptance test. So,
correct.
So 3 to 5 days, that's very reasonable.
That's right.
Okay. And talk a little bit about the maintenance then, what the options
Sure.
are.
So the maintenance is basically keeping the machine clean. We recommend that all the fan filters be vacuumed periodically as recommended. There's some O-rings that you need to inspect and replace if worn or damaged. Inline vacuum filters that need to be inspected and replaced. If you have a laser, there's a HEPA filter and a carbon charcoal filter. Basically, things like this, make sure that everything is working properly and just keeping the machine clean.
So in an environment, let's say 24/7 environment, what would a monthly PM investment look like from their standpoint? How?
From a time point, I would
Yeah.
say maintenance for 1 month on the machine, about half an hour's worth of time to keep it in top running condition.
Wow, that's incredible.
The machine itself is self-calibrating, and again, if you keep it clean, you shouldn't have much problem.
Okay, very good. Talked about spare parts. I know, belts, and we have in the spare parts kit, those are the commonly replaced items.
Correct.
But belts, 5 years life.
Yes, they're nylon reinforced. They don't stretch. And,
ESD compliant as well.
absolutely. Yes, all the plexiglass is all ESD. The plastic in the eye chains are ESD safe. Everything that can be, even the paint is ESD.
Yeah.
These machines will pass the most rigorous ESD testing.
Yeah, speaking of that, a lot of it is related to safety and CE mark. So
Correct.
important to point out that our machines do carry the CE mark stamp. So
And we have
ship those.
certification that we can provide to the end user.
Yeah. And BPM as a whole, we're an ISO 9001 2015 compliant company with certificate
Correct.
as well. We adopted that several years ago now.
That's right. And as Penny mentioned, 2 on-site visits when the machine has a service contract per year. And the annual, of course, is the site COC, where we basically check the conformity of the circuitry on the programming site. And you'll receive a certificate there that will be good for your ISO certification.
Very good. Charlie, I think that about covers it. Well, no, actually, maybe one more thing.
Sure.
Talk about air and power requirements.
Oh, the requirements, sure. So there has been a spec change, and all of our machines that we offer now do require 240 volt AC single phase power. The compressed air is still the same at 100 to 120 PSI.
The service pressure, and then the actual use is about 80 PSI in the machine. Is that correct? Or
Yeah, we regulate it down to 80 PSI.
Okay, very good. All right, Charlie, thank you very much. I think now we're going to hand it over to Robert, and Robert Trinery will cover some of the advanced features of BPWin software and the things he does every day. Take it away, Robert.
Thank you, Colin. So yes, today I would definitely love to talk about some of the advanced features we have in our software to meet your specific programming job requirements. The first one I'd like to discuss is our serialization. We of course have 2 types. We have simple serialization for programming up to 6 bytes of sequential data to a fixed location in the part. Usually good for programming MAC addresses or even serial IDs if needed. And we have a complex serialization, which complex allows external software to connect to BPWin to send the serial data directly to our software for programming. And for complex serial data means data larger than 6 bytes or non-sequential, or you need to program to multiple address locations in the part. But what's also nice with the complex too is with the external software, you can have this wherever you want. You can have this on a network where BPWin would access it. You can even have it to where it's in a central location and multiple BPWin machines, maybe not even in the same facility, can access the same network to pull these serial numbers as needed. So that's a very nice feature, I know. The next we have API. So API breaks down into 2 sections as well, BPM job control and BPM job monitor. And what job control does is it provides you the tools to set up software that will configure the jobs or even start the jobs for you. These jobs can be this API software can even be integrated into MES, ERP, or even a local system. It allows as stated, allows operators to set up jobs or even make quick adjustments to jobs from a remote location. You can even integrate a barcode scanner so that your operators would scan a barcode. It would automatically load the job, and it could even provide notes telling them where to get certain equipment to set up the job and run it on your APS. The final section I'd kind of like to go over is security. And this I saved for last because it's the most important. We do have features in our software to help protect your jobs. Things like operator mode, which limits access to the operator. And basically it's down to just loading the job and setting quantity. They won't be able to adjust the data files. They won't be able to make changes to settings. This protects from accidental escapes. As an added feature too, we also have job integrity check. This is run on all jobs prior to the start of the job. If the job integrity check sees a mismatch of the checksum of the data file, settings is different, anything, it's going to throw up warnings or it's going to stop the job to prevent, again, program escapes from happening. Finally, we do as well have BPM encrypt that's available. And this is, it can be used to allow you to transfer data that's encrypted to BPWin to be programmed, and then it's decrypted just at the start of the job. Also, as an added bonus for this too, if you have this, or honestly, even if it's just security in general, you can even set the programming sites to erase all memory at the end of a job. So again, providing security and making sure your data stays safe. Going back to encrypt, you can also program unique encryption keys into the device, retrieving it actually using serialization. And then finally, or you can also allow programming of secured serial numbers or certificates to your parts. So altogether, we have security in mind, and honestly, this is only just this is just the highlights of the security. We have more features. I don't want to, but I could take an hour on that. So as stated, these are our features. These are just some of our features. And if you'd like to know more, I'll be more than happy to provide some additional descriptions through an email or through phone. So, Scott?
Thanks, Robert.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. One thing to add, Robert, that was a fantastic overview of all the advanced features that BPWin has. And, you know, one thing that's, again, a distinction about BPWin software and BPM microsystems, the approach we take is all of those things that Robert discussed are part of the package, whereas some of our competitors will offer these advanced features as an additional thing to sell. Maybe they got the right approach, but we think customers should all have access. Now, customization, of course, is available in many instances. We do custom software solutions for customers as well, but the basic functionality and enablement is already available in BPWin software. So you can be sure that there's not a lot of hidden expense in the future. Scott, I'll hand it back to you.
Thanks, Colin. So let's transition over to our Q&A. We've still got a few minutes left before the top of the hour. Want to be respectful of everybody's time. Hey, Robert, this question I'm going to throw it over to you. Question from Julio is it possible and what is required to connect an MES system?
Mm-hmm. Yes, you can connect the MES system using our API feature. Now, the exact steps, we could set up some time and I could go into deeper detail, but I can say we do have documentation on the different calls and basically what you need to get your system to communicate with our software. And you can use pretty much any programming language you want for this in this process.
So
Okay.
Robert, we're agnostic regarding the MES software on the other end. There's a kind of a universal handshake of sorts, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the API.
All right, thank you, Robert. Hey, we had a question in the original signups, and I forget exactly who said this, but they were asking questions about 3D inspection with the BPM310. So Colin, you want to address that? We don't have a 3D inspection hooked up on this system, the configuration we have right now.
Absolutely. So we do. We've aligned with Scanner Tech, and we have a 3D inspection system that is incorporated into this machine. Mentioned configurability. Not everyone wants a 3D inspection system. It's typically an automotive or aerospace quality feature, and it's important to some customers and not so much. And you know, our opinion about it is we're happy to support that feature. The version that we offer in this machine can handle BGA and fine pitch leaded devices and even you know, SOICs and that type of thing. Does not handle old school PLCCs, for example, but you know, typically that's not the problem that's trying to be solved. So absolutely, QFPs and other fine pitch devices, including VGA inspection, is possible as an option. Now, it is a factory option. It's very difficult to do that in the field, but yeah, we just need to look at your roadmap and what your quality standards are, and we're happy to provide that in the 3928 as well as the BPM310.
I'd like to throw this open to Penny and Colin to kind of go over some next steps and take it away.
Penny, I'll invite you to go first. How would that be?
Oh, terrific. Well, you know, I want to say thank you to every one of you that have joined us for this call today. We really appreciate your partnerships because I do see that we have quite a few distributors on this call. We are absolutely, you know, having a technical workshop or having another workshop like this. If it's valuable to you, we would love to go ahead and do that with you again. So I'm going to now throw it to Mr. Carlin Harper.
Okay, thanks, Penny. Yeah, I would certainly say amen to the things Penny just mentioned, and thanks for your time. You know, the world has changed a lot in the last few years. I think we've all noticed. Customers are looking for new solutions. Maybe you've considered a BPM offline programmer or some other solution in the past, and it didn't make sense. But the type of technology and the low cost per device that the BPM310 brings to the market is really unbeatable from our standpoint. You know, Charlie again has been around the world installing machines. Many of those machines he installed 10 or 15 years ago are still in operation today. So we're convinced, and most customers who are still operating those machines are convinced, the return on investment and the favorable cost per device they can achieve by programming offline in-house solves a myriad of problems. You know, a lot of customers that we're dealing with today, we're working with, they have outsourcing. We love the programming center, we support them. They have onboard programming, and maybe they have manual programming. And so what we're doing is bringing all of those into a single process to allow you to achieve the lowest cost per device and take all of the other elements out of the process. And by the way, one machine can support multiple production lines. So we believe, again, from a cost per device standpoint, this solution is unbeatable. That's it, Scott. And thank you again.
Hey, thank you everybody for coming. We appreciate your time, and hey, we got you out of here in 59 minutes. How about that? So I will be sending out a link to the video that you can show off to whoever you'd like to. That'll kind of be my next step, and we'll be telling you guys when we do stuff like this again in the near future. So we really appreciate your time, and we'll say goodbye from Houston.